Hello, everybody. I am Simona Mainini with Feng Shui for Architecture, and I would like to discuss with you a little bit today about what Feng Shui architecture means. There is a little bit of misunderstanding, I think. Well, first of all, Feng Shui is one discipline with tons of rules that was developed in ancient China over a period of thousands of years of trial and application, and pretty much every few hundred years a new theory came about that informed that body of knowledge. And then architecture is another discipline that we know in the world of architecture, in the world of building design, in the world of interior architecture, interior design, and so on and so forth. So first of all, when my colleague architect call themselves Feng Shui architect, and they're architect, but their Feng Shui knowledge comprise of one weekend class, or perhaps even just reading one book about Feng Shui, that's really not Feng Shui architecture. That's an architect who read a Feng Shui book. Let's put it that way. Come on, let's be honest here. So Feng Shui architecture consists of taking the first Feng Shui body of knowledge and blending it, married with architecture. And it takes really a person that has skills in both. And I happen to be that. I'm not the only one in the world to do that. I have trained other architects to think as a Feng Shui consultant, and other designer and other interior architecture people. So I'm not the only one, but it does take both knowledge to do that. So this takes me to the next myth that I want to clarify with you guys today, and that is that of the Feng Shui floor plan. I receive email from you, and some of you get really upset because they don't find them in my book. I wrote a book, Feng Shui for Architecture. How come my book does not have Feng Shui floor plan in that? Because there is no such a thing as a Feng Shui floor plan. This is not a cookie cutter discipline when you have one floor plan that is good for everybody. There are so many variables. Feng Shui is an highly customized science, and architecture is highly customized as well, because every architect knows, just like every Feng Shui master knows, for two different reasons, but they know that the design of a building depends on the lot upon which is built, the orientation of the building. Do you have a view? You don't have a view. You have the street, but you have a nice backyard. But in Feng Shui also, there are 24 different possible orientation for a building. Yes, because the Chinese compass is not divided only in the 8th direction, is divided onto the 24 stem and branches as well. So every 15 degrees, the orientation of a building changes. So if your lot is an urban lot and is facing the street, that is great. But one side of the street could have a one Feng Shui, the other side of the street could have a perfectly different Feng Shui. The year of birth of the occupants. If you're designing a building from scratch, like a residence for a family, you need to keep in consideration the year of birth of the occupants, because the Feng Shui of the house is going to be directly related to these occupants. The purpose of Feng Shui is not to create design, beautiful design, highly photographable design. We want it to be pretty, but we want it to be comfortable, peaceful, harmonious, supportive, successful for the people that live and work in there. If these buildings are not peaceful, comfortable, successful, supportive for the occupants, does not matter how beautiful they are. They're not good Feng Shui. So this is another myth here, that good design is always good Feng Shui. Not really. Actually, the other way around, maybe. Good Feng Shui is good design, mostly because people find it really comfortable, really peaceful, really supportive. That's what makes it good Feng Shui and good design. if you are an architect that does beautiful building, and I'm sure there are plenty of you out there, and I know my colleagues, they do amazing things. You see it in all the architectural magazines and, you know, sites all over the world. They can do amazing, beautiful architecture, but is that also good feng shui? We don't really know, because if they are not trained in feng shui, there are probably certain things that they don't know. Like, you know, according with the year of construction, one orientation is better than another. If they don't know, they don't know. Even if they have the possibility of choosing, if they don't know it, they don't know it. If they're doing a building for a client, a custom building for a client, but they don't know what building orientation is better for their client, they might hit it or they might miss it. And I don't mean to be disparaging or critical, but that's just the fact that these are two separate disciplines. And so if you are not trained in feng shui, even if you are the best architect in the world, you will not be able to hit all the feng shui check marks. And I work with a lot of feng shui, architectural offices all over the world, especially here in the United States. Some of them really big and famous feng shui architectural firm that work with highly sensitive feng shui market or feng shui sensitive market. And so, you know, we came up with good solution for them, but they were open to understand, and I did my best to provide the feng shui information, but also be mindful that it needed to fit a certain aesthetic, because that was the signature aesthetic of that firm or that architect. So this is something that you need to keep in consideration if you're a feng shui master working with an architectural firm. And if you're an architect who's hired a feng shui master, don't roll your eyes just because you don't understand the discipline. And I understand that not all feng shui masters are going to be as good as I am, of course, but you might be in part of the world where your client has their own feng shui master of trust, and they might want you to work with that feng shui master. So before you roll your eyes and you discount whatever they're saying, trying to see if you can make it work. It's going to make your life a lot easier. So the other thing I wanted to tell you is that there is a misunderstanding that the ancient Chinese book, they tell you how to design architecture with feng shui. No, they don't. I've translated, I have a translator who's expert in ancient Chinese, and we work together for fun in translating some of this book. Also because even though I studied for 15 years with my Chinese mentor and my feng shui mentor, Chinese feng shui mentor, and I have 25 years of experience designing new building, renovating building, dealing with buildings that are already built. I've seen the difference. There is a lot of work that goes into each of them, but feng shui masters that have a classical training and they know the theory of feng shui can address existing buildings fairly well, especially if they can read a floor plan. But the concepts, as they are explained in the old Chinese books, they do not address new building. They do not address renovations. It was much easier just to bulldoze a building and building from scratch than trying to renovate one. And also, they're not designed for architects. They are designed they're literally sets of notes about application of various portion of one theories. For example, I'm translating right now, we're working on translating a section of the 8th mentioned books, and they talk about the orientation of the stove. They talk about where to orient the stove if you want to have male children, or if you want to get a wife for your son, or if you want to where to put the door to have an important imperial appointments, they do not tell you how to design the layout of your floor plan, where to put the bedrooms, where to put the kitchen, where to put the entry door, where to put the garage. There was no such a thing as a garage. So these things, you will not find them in those books. Even if you speak fluent ancient Chinese and you understand Feng Shui fluently, you will not find them there. So as a Feng Shui master, you need to be able to read a modern floor plan, at least. I also, and I don't mean to be disparaging towards my colleague Feng Shui master in Asia, but I've also seen, once in a blue moon, I come across somebody that cannot read the floor plan. They have to inspect the building, which is fine if you are doing a Feng Shui consultation for an already constructed building. But if you are doing a consultation for something that is not constructed yet, and you cannot read the floor plan or be able to assess and give your point of view on a floor plan, that's going to be an issue. And also, even if you can read the floor plan, but your mind is not geared towards making design recommendations, where to move this door, where, okay, this door shouldn't be here, should be there, the window should be there, redesign the room this way, so now the bed can be in the right position. This is the kind of things that you do when you do a consultation for a new building or a renovation. And this is different than doing a walkthrough in a building that is already built, because when a building is already built, well, moving a door, it's expensive, and moving a window is expensive, especially if you're in the United States. And so your client might not like that. And if your client doesn't like that, then what are you gonna tell him? If he's asking you, if he tells you, I don't sleep well, where should I move the bed? But you cannot move it because there are windows and doors on the other walls. Where are you going to put the bed? So this is another misconception. So the ancient books are wonderful. They sound very mysterious and very esoteric. They're neither of them. They're very practical. But the language is an ancient language, and when it's translated, even in modern terms, sometimes it comes across esoterical and mysterious. But in my experience, very practical. If you know what to do, it's very practical. And so you need to be able to transition between the Feng Shui information and the architecture information. And that can happen, I think, a little bit easier if you are an architect or a designer or interior designer or interior architect or an engineer or somebody that has some experience in building design, studying architecture, than it is as a Feng Shui master trying to learn the architecture discipline. You can do both. I'm not saying that you cannot do it. I think it might be easier if you already know the architectural part, because you're kind of halfway through. If you do not have a passion for ancient Chinese metaphysics, it might be really hard for you to study Feng Shui. So even if you're an architect and you want to learn Feng Shui because you have a lot of clients, they're interested in Feng Shui, but you do not like it, you do not have the time, you do not have the patience, it might be hard. I'm willing to teach you. I have a Feng Shui Training Center where I teach classes on Feng Shui for architecture, interior design, and landscape. I have also another program, which is Feng Shui Professional Consultant course and a Mastery course with, ton of information, practical application, case study, and so on and so forth. I make all of these resources at your disposal, but you need to have at least a little bit of open-mindedness on the topic. Otherwise, it will be so hard for both of us for you to learn, get you to learn that. But I'm happy to teach you if you're into it. If you are a Feng Shui master and want to learn architecture, my classes might not be the right place for you, because I do not teach architecture per se. I do teach a couple of classes on Feng Shui for home decorating. So you're welcome to take one of those courses. You might pick up some information about interior design. But if you're looking at much more complex projects other than just interior decorating, my classes might not be right for you, or at least not quite right for you. You might need to take some other courses in interior design, or so that you can learn about a little bit more about space planning. And then after, you can take it at your community college, or at UCLA. I teach Feng Shui for architects and designer at UCLA, and it's in the Master of Interior Architecture, but there also have professional development classes. So maybe taking a few classes there on design might help, and then you will be able to understand better how to implement the two. So anyway, so this looks like a long list of to do and not to do, but there are so many misconceptions that I wanted to take the time of and the space of clarifying all of them, and they all pertain, the field of Feng Shui and architecture together. So I want to take that time to explain that. So if you're an architect or a designer, want to learn Feng Shui, I am happy. You can join us, our class at UCLA, or you can join our class online. We also have a video self-study class, and you meet with me at the end of it to review your case study, so I can give you some tips. You can ask me questions. But honestly, it's not a cookie cutter approach. So please do not email me and asking me for cookie cutter floor plan, Feng Shui floor plan. There is no such a thing. It's not for lack of trying, because 20 years ago, we're almost at the end of Shuang Kong cycle 8. 20 years ago, we were at the end of Shuang Kong cycle 7, and I thought, oh, we're going into Feng Shui Shuang Kong cycle 8. So let me come up with floor plan for each of the 24 orientation. So just that 24 orientation gives you an idea, because 24 different orientation means a different energy distribution. Technically, that would be a different bagua for each building alone, without keeping in consideration the date of birth of your occupant. So you can see right away, 24 orientation is 24 floor plans, completely different one from the other. But then not all of them work for the same occupant. So only some of them will work for that occupant. And then that occupant might not be happy with a 2-bedroom. They might want a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom or a 2-story instead of 1-story. Or they might want an apartment, or they might want an estate. So these are all things that need to be kept in consideration, even just for designing residential. There are so many variables that, a cookie cutter approach of a floor plan that fits all, it's really impossible. And anybody, honestly, and I don't mean to be disparaging of anybody, but because I tried that personally and I know how hard it is, anybody who's going to try to sell you a floor plan and tell you that this floor plan, is the best for you because they designed the perfect floor plan that works for everybody, is probably not going to be accurate. But what we do, and the way that Feng Shui should be applied, is based on your lot, whether it's on a flat land or on a hillside, whether you have a view or you are a urban track, or you are 1-story, 2-story, 3-story, no matter how many square feet, knowing the date of birth of the member of your family, which means each of them has individual energy needs that certain direction can supply and some other direction cannot. So you have to keep that in consideration. Also, it's easier to develop a custom floor plan for somebody. So if you're looking at building a new home, honestly, it's less expensive to get a consultation on your property and work with your architects to develop a floor plan that is unique to your lot to your date of birth, to your time of construction, to your needs, than trying to buy an already built Feng Shui floor plan, an already designed Feng Shui floor plan. So anyway, that's my 2 cents with 25 years of experience attached to it. So anyway, I hope this clarifies some of these myths, and I'm going to see you next time with another video, and we're going to discuss a little bit more myths. Let's try to make a little bit of clear information in this discipline that seems so mysterious and so esoteric, and it's really not. Okay, take care, guys. See you next time. Bye.